So this is going to be a how-to video on the discussion and conclusion segment of a formal lab. So discussion and conclusion, bringing it all together. Okay, so again, you restate your hypothesis, and no need to make a big deal out of this. You can just copy and paste it from the, again, it's going to be found either in the abstract or it's going to be found in the abstract and in the introduction section. So just feel free to go ahead and copy and paste it directly into your discussion and conclusion. But please make sure that your hypothesis is correct. Otherwise, you know you're copying and pasting the wrong thing. All right, so speaking of was your hypothesis correct? So again, you will say, was my hypothesis correct or not correct? Again, and we discussed this a little bit in the abstract how-to, you need facts to support this statement. And again, you can just copy and paste these trends from your results section. So the nice thing about the discussion and conclusion is you're sort of copying and pasting a lot of what you've already written into one area. Okay, so next in your lab rubric is explain the outliers. So basically what an outlier is you did everything right, but you still got a really bizarre result. So example, I decided to do an Alka-Seltzer rocket experiment. My first trial, and I was doing height. See how high the rocket would travel with Alka-Seltzer. So my first result was 10 meters. My second result, my second trial was 11 meters, but then for some reason my third result was 209. So in this case, trial 3, this would be the outlier. I did everything exactly the same way. I used the same amount of Alka-Seltzer, I used the same amount of liquid, used the same timer, used the same canister, everything. But for some reason, I got 209 meters. So this right here would be noted in my lab report as an outlier. So remember, the outliers aren't errors. You did everything right, but you still got a really weird result. So again, this can be found, the data, all this data right here, lives in my data table. Okay. Not every experiment will have an outlier. So if for whatever reason your experiment does not have an outlier, or maybe you did the experiment and didn't get any bizarre results like I did, all you need to do is simply say, my experiment had no outliers. All right, so the next question that you need to answer, what are 2 to 3 errors you made, and how will you correct them next time? So basically what you're doing is you are explaining how each error may have affected your experiment. So for example, when getting back to the Alka-Seltzer rocket experiment, when I did not get, and I'm just reading right here, when I did not get the top on the rocket right away, it may have affected how long it stayed in the air. So this time maybe I'm recording hang time, something like that. What would you do differently to fix these errors? So an example of how I would fix that error would be, and again, I'm right here, next time I would try to get the top on the rocket immediately. So 2 errors, and how are you, 2 to 3 errors, and what are you going to do to fix them? So what experiment would you do to follow up this one? So what you've probably already noticed is a good experiment will often raise as many questions as it answered. Boy, that was kind of cool. I wonder what would happen if I went ahead and did this, or I wonder what would happen if I did this differently. So basically what you're doing is you're building on the experiment that you've done, and then what direction could you take with the information that you now know. So maybe what I did was I was doing an Alka-Seltzer rocket with, I wanted to see which liquid would make it go fly the highest. So I used water and orange juice and chocolate syrup. So maybe what I did after this experiment, I'm like, okay, I found out that Alka-Seltzer produces CO2. So I'm wondering if I put like carbonated water, because carbonated water has CO2 in it too. I wonder if that would make it fly higher. That would be an example of a good follow-up experiment. So it's the same experiment or a similar experiment. You are just sort of building on it to kind of figure out, wonder what would happen now. Okay, that's it. Hopefully this was helpful in the discussion and conclusion. If not, come find me and we'll figure it out. Thanks.